Kim James, welcome to Show Studio.
Thank you very much.
I want to start in the present because we're in a little bit of sweet spot of time here. It's been just over a year at Dior now, and we're about a month away from the show in June, so we've got a nice little reflection period to talk about. So what was your initial aim for Dior when you were appointed artistic director?
I just wanted to really look at Christian Dior's work and what it would be relevant as in, 21st century, so to speak. So I looked at a lot of the archive and particularly also at the background of his life, because there's a huge amount of things before he was a couturier that people didn't know about, especially being, he was involved in a gallery that represented and worked with a lot of the most influential artists at the time, which for me is something very interesting, as it's a passion of mine as well.
Were there any surprises when going through the archive? Any pleasant surprises, having a little rummage?
I mean, all the time you find something new. I haven't gone completely through it because I've got a lot of years to look through it, but I just wanted to find things that defined it for the first season. So, for example, I looked at the idea of his love of nature, which is something I'm also really interested in. I wanted a floral because there was a huge amount of florals in his work. I liked the idea of, the three things that my real thing were based on was the tailoring, the couture element, and then the elegance of Christian Dior as a brand. So that's what I really go for when I look for anything.
It's interesting you mentioned that tailoring couture, because when a lot of people think of Kim Jones, they think your personal brand is so synonymous with sportswear and streetwear, and I know those words are really naff and horrible, sorry. A lot of what you did at Vuitton was really trailblazing the homogenization of sportswear and luxury. And so now at Dior, I'm interested to see where this sportswear, streetwear fits.
With Vuitton, it was really looking at what the customers were wearing, seeing what they were buying. So, they were people that were wealthy and they wanted to be comfortable, so the sportswear element became something quite logical to do.
That whole luxury sportswear, streetwear really been redefined again at Dior. The two previous collections have really been honing in on couture, as you mentioned, and so is that this new regeneration of luxury for you?
Yeah, for me, Dior's about upscaling. It's a different brand, and Vuitton was very much luxury leather goods house, and Dior's a couture house. So I'm looking at the couture aspects. I'm looking at what the DNA of the brand is, and also what people were buying at the brand. Because, in English we have that you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater thing. So I want to make sales work, and I want to also make the existing customer happy and introduce new customers. So I was just looking at what's in the archive, and I think my favourite collection I've ever done is probably the last one I did for Dior, which was on the moving runway, because it really captivated what Dior was, but then also had that newness of it. But it was very elegant, but also very tough. So I think it had the right balance. So it was a really pinnacle point for me to move forward in how I want to do Dior.
The music at that collection was particularly magnetic, and Honey Dijon you collaborated with on. I actually read that during Louis Vuitton the beginnings of your collection would start from music.
Yes.
Is that still the case with Dior?
It is. I'm working on the music now this week with Honey for the next show, and it's kind of, I've got two different paths for it, because it's just really will it be it's quite a romantic show, so I don't want it to be extra romantic, or I don't want to give it a bit of a harder edge, and so that will come towards the time. But I do tend to listen to a playlist while I'm doing a collection, and then narrow it down. At Vuitton, quite often I'd start with a destination from the trunk book and the music that I wanted to use for the show. It's funny when you talk about collaboration now in fashion, and people go, "Oh, is it the end of collaboration? Is it, is collaboration too much?" But, when you work in a house where the creative, Christian Dior was a gallerist for 20 years and a couturier for 10 years, obviously art was a very important thing to him. So you have to understand that it's also important in the message of the house. And I think that's something that's, really interesting to work with. And I think that it actually gives people information, and you're also informing them on different parts of things that they wouldn't necessarily work on. And I think that, people collaborate every day. Just being in this room, you're collaborating with you, Nick, everyone in here. It's just how things work nowadays. It's more people see it now. They didn't see it before.
Well, you certainly were one of the trailblazers for collaboration, the king of collaboration I've seen dotted around online.
I don't Google myself, so, unless I need a picture for a haircut.
And there's just been some amazing collaborations over the years that you've drawn in, the ones we mentioned before with Fragment and Supreme and Christopher Nemeth.
Yeah.
A lot of them call upon this amazing archive that you have. What's your point of contact for collaboration? Is it artists, people you aspire, people you're inspired by, who you're collecting?
With Fragment, it was part of a 5-step plan actually that we were going to do at Vuitton with 5 different things in a row, and Fragment started. It was the first thing, and Hiroshi I met him when I was in my teens, when I worked for Michael Koppelman, and I actually thought, he was the person that really got that scene, the Harajuku scene in Japan going. So I thought it was, I've known him for a long time. I love everything he does, and I thought it would be great to see his interpretation of Vuitton also, because he was one of the biggest Vuitton customers in Japan for quite a while, so he understood the brand really well. We had a conversation, it was very sort of smooth and easy to work with, and we said this is possible, this isn't possible, and we did a really great launch in Japan. I think there was something like a 6-kilometer queue, and just seeing that sort of excitement makes you as a designer think, oh, what can I do to challenge that and make something bigger? I mean, I'm always thinking bigger, because I think that's the fun of it. I don't know, I've always thought big. Pietro says always think gigantic, but I think, big is, I always think big.
Your archive is incredible. It rivals CSM archives. From what I'm hearing, you have collections of Lee Bowery, Vivienne Westwood, over 6,000 vinyls, auction catalogues from Andy Warhol.
I think A Magazine just touches on what I've got, and then it's like there's a lot more. I mean, I think I've probably got about 600 outfits from Westwood, Lee Bowery, Rachel Auburn, Christopher Nemeth, Richard Torrey, Melissa Kaplan. Lots of people that people don't know, but it's all, English design from 1970 to about 1985, 1987 maybe. And I just started collecting, originally I started collecting things like seditionaries and things like that, and just really, things that I loved. I thought they were beautiful, and Stephen Relic was one of the people that would always help me find stuff that was, genuine and real and things like that, which is obviously, and then just, it's sort of people would come to me and say, hey, I've got this, would you like to buy it, or would you like to buy this, and see things in auction, and just started collecting it, and then suddenly it was just like a massive room full of stuff, and I was like, oh, what do I do with this now, because it's, it needs to be looked after properly, it needs to be cared for, it's like, it's a full-time job as well, so, everything I've got, from books to magazines, to records, to art, to clothing, to ephemera from different places, it's, and things I've collected all around the world, it's like, it's a lot of different things.
It's an incredible library, incredible resource.
Yeah, it is, and I think I'll probably make a big book of it one day, and then work out where the best places for some things to go to be looked after properly.
What is it about the archive that you like so much? Is it the preservation element? How did it start? Were you just collecting bits? It just started like things that inspire me and I like to look at, and things that are around, and I think anyone that's creative understands that you have things around you that you love and look at and make, inspire you and make you think in a creative way. It's just how things are. You mentioned A-Mag, so you've actually just guest curated a magazine, and it's very much a snapshot into you and your archive and all the things you love. Tell me a little bit about the process of curating that, and where did you start? Looks like you started in your archive.
We started with an A to Z and sat down with Dan Thorley, and we just wanted to, it's quite overwhelming when someone goes, oh, do you want to curate a magazine, which you're allowed to control all the different things. So I just thought, well, I'll do the different chapters of things I love in my life. So it was an A to Z, and A starts in Africa with a conversation with Naomi about all the things she does in Africa, and projects and places in Africa that are important, and just different countries within Africa. And it was just like we were in South Africa in December, and really just looking at all the things there, and then ends on the Z for the zero you will get if you don't know my alphabet, which is that Amanda Lear song Alphabet, and shot her wearing all of the first season of Dior that I did. I met her maybe in 2003. I liked her music before that. I think it was Les Child that actually introduced me to Amanda Lear, and I got quite into it, just the whole story and the idea of her, and so it was quite fun to end on the Z for that. And then there's different parts of things, like Hajime Suriyama did nudes of Kate and Bella, and then Kors did Kate, and then I did Bloomsbury because Charleston Farmhouse was somewhere that I used to go as a child, and I love the concept of Duncan Grant, Vanessa Bell, everyone down there, and how it was almost sort of the punks at their time refusing to do things that the government asked them to do, and being also extremely creative at the same time. I collect a lot of Omega Workshop furniture, and I have a lot of the paintings in my house as well, and the ceramics too. And I just, I like the idea of the way they lived. I thought it was really interesting, and it's just a cross section. I mean, V in the magazine, Virgil did the V, and it's vinyl, and I've got people like Stevie Wonder, Elton John, J Balvin, Victoria Beckham, Lily Allen, all the people I know that have given me, their top 10 records, because I thought that'd be quite interesting for people to see, especially people that are into music.
It's interesting that it's got such a personal element. There's something brilliant about your designs in that whenever you come into a house, you are very respectful in the house codes and looking through the archive, but there's always something really personal about you, I think, in the collections.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't ever really think that, because I see myself as an interpreter of the house when I'm there, and I think that everyone works in a different way, and I think sometimes when I say that's how I think it should be, that's right for me, but everyone's got their own process. So for me, I think that that's how I work the best, and I do take, I was talking to Tim Blanks a while ago, and he said that he felt he could see a lot of my early work in Dior, which I don't think about, but maybe it's just inside, but I do take it and you work it to make it into your thing. But as you're a designer, you evolve, you want to evolve, you want to do new stuff. So my work at Dior isn't the same as my work at Vuitton, and it's not the same as Dunhill or Kim Jones or all the other different things I've done. It's you take what is Dior and then you work with that. I think it's really important to be respectful. And it's also the thing that makes you excited and challenged about doing things. I think people like community. When people can relate to a house, I think it's really important. And I think having someone from the West Coast, having someone from Japan, having someone from England, you give a bigger scope to things. And I think that's kind of very, important for consumers and people that want to get to know the house to have, because they find an area they can relate to.
I want to talk a little bit about that community that you're curating around yourself and all the different opinions and vantage points that you're bringing in. So Matthew and you are actually the first two that are almost in-house collaborators.
Yeah,
now.
They are. They're part of the team.
Yeah, very much so. And bringing in all these different artists adds a community element again.
Yeah, completely. I mean, the artist is really a reflection of Christian Dior's work as a gallerist. And he also worked with artists on his own, on his collection. So that they come in each season, it's almost like someone that I think would be really suitable for the season. It's like Kors, I thought was great for the first one because, Christian Dior worked with Picasso and Salvador Dali, who were like the huge artists of their day, and Kors is, the artist of his generation, so to speak, because so many people know what his work is. And, you think about how much he just sold a painting for, he's probably going to be the most expensive living artist in his lifetime.
You are an avid globetrotter, as I mentioned before. Your childhood was incredible, growing up in Africa and Ecuador, and you make a habit of travelling a lot. There's a statement I read that said you want to explore all parts of the world. I
want to see pretty much all the world before I die. I think that's the fundamental thing about being alive for me personally. Just because I love seeing different cultures, I love seeing different places, I love seeing different wildlife, I love seeing the way different people live. Our world's like, everyone says the world's very small, but you still go to places and they're completely different and people are living in different ways. And I think, looking at the history of the world and looking at the history of humanity and all those different aspects, for me is just something really interesting. I'm not really a lie down on the beach person for a holiday, although I have started to like that, but I normally have to have done quite a lot before I can lie down, and it's usually for about 2 days. So,
how do you switch off?
well, being in nature.
Yeah, being in
you
nature.
know, being in nature, seeing different parts of the world. You know, that's for me the thing that I love.
I've read somewhere that you were saying you've got kind of safari eyes and you're always picking up on the tiniest little things. Is that a real part of travelling for you? It's just picking up on the minute details?
Well, when I was a kid, I used to like catching snakes and lizards, which was always quite potentially dangerous, and I would just be looking for anything that moved. And so when you've done that when you're young, and it's like you go, say, somewhere like Kenya, and you just see an odd shape on the horizon or like something move, you can identify what animal it is immediately. I mean, I'm pretty good at recognising any single animal that you can see. And just like, you know, I'm always looking at that because it's something, you know, I did it's just part of me. It's like, and sometimes I'll drive a tracker mad because I'll see everything before them, and just like, it's like, but we always have a joke about it, but it's just, you get in, it takes about 2 hours, and then I'm really focused in on seeing everything, and I guess that's how I look at fashion too. It's like I look at details and I look at different finishings, and it's like I'm quite terrible, and I always say apologise when I'm dealing with people, because I'll be like looking over their shoulder at what someone's wearing, or looking at, you know, like, or painting on the wall and things like that, but it's like, it's just because that's how I've always been.
You had amazing mentors throughout your career, Louise Wilson and Lee McQueen. Am I right in thinking the A mag you've curated is in kind of an homage to Louise?
Yeah, it was for Louise. I mean, I just put dedication of Louise, Lee and Judy in there, because Lee and Louise are the two really important people. Louise gave me the confidence to go and do what I needed to do, and Lee was always there to say, you know, fuck them, go and do it, and don't listen to people, listen to yourself, and things like that. I do listen to lots of people, but I listen about practical things. I don't listen. If someone says something, it's like, I always assess why it's been said rather than if it's relevant. You know, it's like, if it's relevant and it's said in a way that's useful, then I listen to it. If it's something where you can tell they're jealous or they're just being difficult, I'm just like, that's in one ear out the other. You've just got to listen to the people that you trust, that you know have the taste and know what they're doing, and that's the advice I'd give to anyone that's coming out of college or going in college, and you know why you've gone to college. Is it because you like the tutors? Is it because you think it's a good college? And then it's like how to focus on stuff like that. And I went to St. Martin's because I wanted to do menswear, and I got on with Louise very well. I also worked a lot to pay to go to college. I did a huge amount of my work in the evening, so I didn't really have a huge interaction with my year. But that's how I had to do it. It was just like, I didn't have another choice. I was working 4 days a week and in there 1 day a week. I think everyone's got different things, but I did, Louise gave me a lot of confidence to do what I do. And with Lee, it was really the backing up of that, and also, he was such a genius, and the fact that he liked what I did was a really massive compliment, and the fact that he was like a bit of an older brother to me was a really amazing thing. And I still wonder what it would be like if he was around doing fashion now, how that would have evolved, because you think about the last collections that he was doing that were becoming very futuristic and super almost like sci-fi, and it was kind of how it would be now.